All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started right here at 10 a.m. Central Time. Thanks for joining us today, giving a little bit of your time to talk to us and learn a bit more about the pipeline and to Teams, and also a little bit on kind of the state of our work from home environment and the impact that all of these Teams meetings and other virtual meeting concepts are having. So if you're joining us today, hopefully this is a technology that you're either have adopted or are thinking about adopting within your organization. We're going to dive a little bit into kind of some of the studies that Microsoft has done during COVID, both pre and during. We're not in post-COVID yet, unfortunately, around the impact on teams and the impact on your team members in using these technologies. But we're also going to talk about some of the really cool technology roadmap stuff. I'm going to share with you some of Microsoft's roadmaps they've shared with us as one of their strategic partners, and how you can be ready for some of these new features and start to think about how they might integrate into your organization. My name is Paul Higger. I'm the Director of Solutions here at Levity. Levity is the merger between Information Technology Professionals and Gordon Flesch Company, Inc. We are a GFC organization. I'm happy to be here today. Levity is what's considered a managed partner. And a managed partner by Microsoft means specifically around the cloud solution stack, things like the productivity solutions like Office 365, certainly Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Office Online, et cetera, as well as Microsoft Azure. We're managed as a part of their managed Azure group. And we're a gold partner, means we're certified in all of those cloud solutions. And we have what's called a Partner Business Development Manager, or PDM, that owns our account and works with us strategically as we share the Microsoft technology stack message. We're also an education authorized partner, and we help our schools even more than ever understand and adopt the possibilities within the Microsoft solution offering. As well as we help people with other Microsoft licensing, technology, and implementation services. So whether you come to us today as an existing customer of our organization or as one looking for a strategic Microsoft partner, know that you're working with an organization that works very closely with Microsoft and is one of only a handful. Truly, this number continues to reduce that works directly with Microsoft. We also buy directly from Microsoft, which is an increasingly rare relationship as well. They only work with certain strategic partners and allow them the opportunity to buy their product in real time. One of the big announcements that's dropped in the last 30 days, sorry that this isn't about Teams, but about Microsoft in general, and I promise I'll get back to the Teams topic, is the fact that Microsoft has announced the end of life of the open licensing model. So the model where you would purchase software for your on-premise locations and run it as long as you possibly can. They're no longer going to offer that as a licensing model starting January 1st or ending December 31st, 2021, which sounds like a long ways away, but 2020 is going by fast, by all accounts, not too fast in some ways, or not fast enough. But when we get to the end of 2021, Microsoft's vision is that they want organizations in a subscription model for all of their licensing, meaning you're going to be working with a partner, hopefully like us, on a monthly or annual basis to renew the right software that meets the needs of your organization. And so we're going to have follow-up webinars and talk about that as well. Last bit of housekeeping is obviously if you have questions, please submit them as we go along. There will be time at the end, and I'll try to answer everything that I can live. If not, we'll certainly follow up and get back to you. We will send a copy of the recording, and any materials that we're allowed to distribute will all come automatically to you as well. Please use the Q&A function within Zoom in order to ask those questions when we get to the end, but feel free to put them in as we move along, and I'll pause for those at the end. With that, let's dive into some of the content today. So why are we talking about Teams? Why Why has this been Teams Month here at Elevity? Here in November, all of our coffee break series, all of our thought leadership has been around Teams because we continue to see this being the dominant method in which our customers and even ourselves are interacting with our employees and our customers. We are in a remote and work from home environment. Unfortunately, the direction that at least the state of Wisconsin is going currently, we're going to be in this for a little bit longer, it appears. So, this is the remote work or work from home is the future of work, and it is both good and challenging and unknown. And we're going to share some of the insights on a Microsoft study that was done recently about the impact of this. So let's talk. I'm going to show a brief video from Microsoft on the future of Teams, and we're going to dive right into some of the roadmap features that Microsoft laid out to us as partners that I can share with you today. When we're talking roadmap of a publicly traded company, there's a few things, and one of the largest technology companies in the world, I think the largest technology company in the world. A thing to note, today I can only share with you things that are a part of the public roadmap. So while we as a partner have an NDA and are given some insight into the overall directionality of non-public roadmap items, being that this is a public forum webinar today, I am going to deliver to you things that Microsoft is committed to in the public sphere. And so that's still going to be pretty forward-looking. That's going to get you through the end of this year and into January for technology announcements. And I'm going to show you where they make those announcements so that you can stay on top of it even beyond today and be a Teams expert. And I'm also going to talk about their rollout methodology, what they've shared publicly around how they roll out new Teams features and things like that. But I think Microsoft has done a really good job of providing a video that kind of shares this. So it's just 1 minute long, and I'm going to share it with everybody right now. Excellent marketing job by Microsoft there. As they shared, even in that video that they have public facing, they talked about features that as if they are here when in fact they're not here yet. Here is a slide from something that we were shared and are allowed to share with around some of the main Teams feature updates. So Microsoft, when the pandemic hit, not only did they send their whole workforce home themselves, they made a commitment to stay home through most of 2021 as well already, including canceling all their in-person events, Microsoft Inspire, Microsoft Ignite, some of the largest global events that we're used to going to all went online. Obviously, Microsoft is both a leading employer and a leading visionary in technology, and so they need to lead the way in using technology as a way to deliver their workforce and being home. They took their development team, and if you are a developer at Microsoft and you were working on any pet projects that were not a part of their core, you are shifted to one of two product lines, Microsoft Teams or Microsoft Azure. I don't think that's not a public statement. That's just the reality of how they needed to shift towards where the world was going, right? We talk about Zoom a lot, and hopefully this is the last time we're going to need to use Zoom as our webinar platform because Teams has moved that much along. We use Teams for everything in our organization every day, except for webinars because of some of the registration features and a few things that Zoom is able to do in a webinar format that Teams doesn't, and notably the number of attendees that you can have within a meeting, and that is all about to change. And you can see some of that on the roadmap that we're going to talk about now. So I think people have seen the evolution of Teams. They have already added things. I'm sure everyone on this call has had their tenant and client updated already. That includes things like raising hands, the ability to raise a hand or provide a custom background, or pop out your chat. Those are all things that were delivered already. Also, your tenant should already have together mode, should have dynamic view, should have large gallery view at this point, and should be able to pop out meetings. At this point, we are still waiting on the interactive meetings for 1,000 participants, video filters, which I'll talk about, breakout rooms, which is another feature that Zoom has that Teams doesn't, but they're closing the gap on that, chat bubbles, live reactions, and speaker attribution within transcripts. So there are post-meeting transcripts, there will be live meeting transcripts, and I'll show what some of those things are as well. And I'll share again where that roadmap is. So if I just listed a feature that you're sitting here going, wait a minute, I don't think I've seen large gallery view yet. Let's talk a little bit about how Teams and Microsoft rolls out updates. Like any good organization, they have very strict change control, and they have very polished software revision processes. So what happens is a feature will be considered in development. It will go through a series of tests through an alpha and beta rollout process. And then it will go into a rolling out system live. And I'll show you where these are found. And it will be marked as rolling out. So when a new feature is rolling out, you need to have both the most updated version of the Teams client, and your tenant needs to be updated by Microsoft on the back end. So there's both of those things are not fully within your control. Obviously, Microsoft is not going to push an update, even after it's been through rigorous testing. They're not going to just hit a button and apply an update across the entire Office 365 fabric globally, or even countrywide in the United States. They are going to do a slow rolling rollout of that new feature, so that if there are any hiccups, there are any bugs, there's any substantial performance impact on the fabric that they weren't expecting, they're able to get out ahead of all of those things. So unfortunately, to date, Teams will just indicate, or Microsoft will indicate that the feature is rolling out. There isn't a way for you to see where you are in that rollout process, and they don't get down to the granular level to the public around, whether they start in the Southeast region or the North region or things like that. So what you can do is, if you are in your Teams application, if you go up to the upper right where you hopefully have uploaded a picture of yourself to so that your own icon shows up with your own face. We have lots of new teammates here at Elevity, and we're all working from home, so we want everyone's bright shining faces to be in our profile inside of Teams. Hopefully yours is. If you go and click on that profile, you can click on a button to check for updates or view your version info within Teams. And if you click check for updates, you can be doing that while you're doing your normal day-to-day Teams business. It doesn't download a file. It doesn't cause your IT team to have to run in and do an update and hit run or anything like that. Teams is a dynamic application like any of the Office 365 stack is. Again, as long as your Microsoft licensing is coming via that Office 365 subscription model. So that's part of the reason why Microsoft is moving towards subscription, is it also moves your technology into an environment where it self-updates, which is kind of what your experience, right? If you have a cell phone today, whether it be Android or an Apple device or somewhere in between, your phone just tells you, hey, at night, I'm going to do this update. You wake up in the morning, and your phone has new features to it, right? You didn't need IT to get involved to update or lift and shift or reinstall or change anything. And that's where Microsoft Office 365 has gone, and the installed applications from Microsoft have gone, which is phenomenal for IT teams because we don't need to come in and manage your updates and your versions anymore. It's why we're running on Windows 10. And at this point, Microsoft has not announced that there will ever be a Windows 11. We're just continuing to evolve the platform as long as you stay on both security and feature updates. That's all happening in the background. It's all transparent because that's what the end user experience we want is for our end users. So you can make sure that your client is on the most current version. And you can go ahead and drop into your favorite search engine, whatever version shows up within that check for latest version area within Microsoft Teams. And you'll see public postings about whether you are on the most current version. So you will need that client to be the most current version, and then your tenant. And tenant is the really fancy term for your little part of the Microsoft Office 365 and ultimately Microsoft Azure Fabric that you're on. When your Office 365 account was set up by us, another IT organization, your internal IT department, they were assigned a temporary tenant ID, and it is something.onmicrosoft.com. If you're an end user, you've never seen that tenant name and you don't need to worry about it, but that is a unique ID, unique to your organization, and it allows your IT staff, whether it's us or your internal IT, to, obviously we can update it and we replace it with an alias that is typically your website.com, but in the background, you are ultimately some organization at onmicrosoft.com to Microsoft. And that is a unique ID. There is no one else that has your identity .onmicrosoft.com. And that is your tenant. That's your piece of the Microsoft Azure environment in the world that you're ultimately on. And that's what needs to also get an update. It needs to be a part of the rolling update. So while I share with you some new features that are coming in December, understand that your client side will need to be updated. And your tenant will need to get part of that rolling update from Microsoft as well. So one of the things that was shared within that video is video filters. So more than just background or blur effects, but there are going to be things like if you've done in Zoom where it cleans up your video, and as you join a meeting where you have that opportunity to see yourself, you're going to be able to apply those filters, change your lighting, and do things like that. They've also told us, well, it's not on the roadmap that I've seen online, but they are going to do some noise filtering as well. And they've done some examples where barking dogs and maybe some loud children get filtered out from the audio in the background as well. Transcripts with speaker attribution. You'll see here on the right a live transcript of the meeting. There's some folks that are inviting third-party bots or other technologies into their Teams meetings or into their Zoom meetings that you may have seen that do automatic note-taking. Microsoft, via the Cortana Fabric and Graph API, are actually embedding this inside of Teams. And this is another feature that is targeted to come in the December timeframe. And it's going to provide this great running transcript of your meeting, when certain things were said and by who, and you'll be able to search all of that within your normal Teams global search environment, which is going to be really fantastic. And there's some very cool voice to text technology and indexing services that are built in behind the scenes of this particular feature. So where am I finding these items, and where can you find them yourself? So let's, again, this link is going to be shared, but this is the public Microsoft 365 roadmap. So it's at Microsoft.com, essentially /Microsoft-365/roadmap. Brings you to this website, which you can see there's 456 new features that are in development currently. And there's 179 that are in a rolling out state. And there's 610 features that have launched within this year for this tool. And for the purposes of today's conversation, I think the advice that I would give you is to come over here to the filters. You're going to click View More to expand out the filters for the products that you want to look at. And you're going to check the box for Microsoft Teams. So now you can see there's 135 features related to Microsoft Teams that are in development. There are 23 in a rolling out state. So maybe some that I've talked about today, like this new file sharing experience. You can see that that is in a rolling out state. Was started in October with the rollout. We're into November. They're not always 100% on time, so your tenant may not have access to this feature yet, but it is in a rolling out state, which means it is coming. And there's 184 that are launched. So when it is marked launched, at that point, if you have your client up to date, you should have this feature available to you. So now that we've checked the within Teams box, we are looking at the 135 in development, the 23 rolling out, and the 184 launched features. So this is 342 updates about the Microsoft Team product that are showing to us. maybe a bit much. So we can check the box right here. We're now searching within Microsoft Teams and the rolling out features, and you can see the release all the way on the right for new things that are still in a rolling out state. So these are the new features, and you can click on these and continue to dive deeper into what these offerings are. Here's that Teams new meeting pre-join experience, which has that filters option. It is, as of November, started in a rolling out state. You'll see in the column there next to, in between rolling out and November, this comment about what tenants, what group of the Microsoft Azure Fabric is being updated by this technology. So Microsoft Teams Worldwide Standard Multi-Tenant means anyone that is a commercial customer. So a business that is a for-profit organization that is buying through a traditional CSP channel like ourselves, a cloud solution provider, is a part of this rolling out experience. You'll see the GCC designation there. If you're one of our state, local government and education customers, if you're a local government and you have used GovCloud through us, and you are a GCC customer or a GCC High customer, you are on a different release schedule. And so this particular feature says GCC and calls it out specifically, means the standard GovCloud user should be getting this experience in the same time frame. GCC High, which is our customers that directly interact with high levels of Microsoft, of the government, like the DoD, et cetera, you are on a completely different release cycle because everything has to go through an additional layer of rigorous testing before it gets released out. One of the things you will notice as you become familiar with this roadmap tool and feature is you're going to see that the general Microsoft cloud in the United States often gets features first. And then it starts rolling into GCC, GCC High, and other countries along a different path. So this is the tool that we can use. And within this rolling out feature set or in development feature set that we have, you can search for a specific update or feature that you are interested in. So if we are looking for, and I should have tried this before, so bear with me if this search produces no results. Oh, there we go. So I was looking for attribution to try to figure out when live transcripts with speaker attribution is expected to roll out. You can see that Teams live transcript with speaker attribution, what you just saw in that short video clip, is in development state. So it's not even in a rolling out state, and its targeted release is February of 2021. So they actually updated this. This was something they thought was going to hit in December, and they pushed this feature down the road to 2021. So that is when it should hit a rolling out state, is in the February timeframe of 2021 for this feature. So if you want to stay ahead of these features and know when things are happening, this is the tool, and this is kind of how you use the tool to track where those specific items are. So if I clear that word search out, we're back to just the Microsoft Teams application, rolling out features, and those that are in development. So this is how you track the public roadmap. So without clicking through each of that, I'm going to go through some additional roadmap items from now until the end of the year that Microsoft is rolling out and why we think some of those are some pretty interesting features. But as I said at the top of this meeting, I wanted to share a little bit around some of the studies that Microsoft has done recently around the impact of work from home on our workforce and using technologies like Teams. So you can see here, Microsoft actually got a group, 10 groups of organizations to be hooked up to brain EKGs, ECGs. They actually had specialized hats on with equipment that were recording their brain waves while doing traditional in-person work. And then that team shifted and did work in Microsoft Teams. And what Microsoft was trying to study before the coronavirus even started was the impact on in-person versus virtual meetings for individuals. And while we certainly see some positive sides to it, which we'll talk about today, there's also there was some revealing data in there. And Microsoft accelerated the study and EEG, it's right there. They shared some of this study very recently in a public article that I thought was really fascinating. And what they found here is that brainwaves revealed sustained concentration in video meetings that lead to brain fatigue. So this is true. This feeling of, man, I've been on meetings all day. I'm watching webinars from this guy who just doesn't shut up about Microsoft Teams. Your brain just physiologically, when presented with data in this way, increases both your concentration and your anxiety, different from in-person meetings. And in fact, what the study found, which Microsoft is still analyzing and trying to figure out, is if you started a project in person, not only were you more calm, your brain was more relaxed when you're in person, interacting with folks, but if you then take that task and bring it online and then back to the office, your brain doesn't reset. Your brain still has some of the Teams meeting anxiety left over from it. So they're trying to understand what it is about that experience, what it is about technology being involved in this way. But it absolutely means your business needs to take into consideration, while we are using these new technologies, and we're here to talk about how these technologies are getting neater and cooler and having more features, that your employees are struggling. That if you back to back endless Teams meetings, you are not getting the best out of your employees. You're not getting physiologically the best out of their brains. They need a break that you might need to help them with. And we're going to talk about Microsoft sees that. And that's why if you have an enterprise plan, you're getting your Cortana briefings, you're getting insight emails every day. That's Microsoft trying to use some of the AI in their technology to give you and your employees feedback about their overuse of technology and the impact that that may have. Part of this science that Microsoft was using and using that same EEG methodology in June here in 2020, they switched between together mode and grid view, and they saw the change. And I don't know if anyone's tried together mode. Again, it's in that the three little dots, the little ellipses they call it, where you can switch to together mode, and all of the people in your meeting will go and look like they're sitting inside of a theater. Because now you can see everyone at once, it is actually tricking your brain that this meeting is slightly more in person. And you can see in together mode, there is substantially less mental effort going on. So this wasn't just a feature that was made to be like, well, that's really funny. Look at Sally. Sally's got this goofy thing in her background that's showing up like she's like in together mode that's still hanging out behind her. That's funny. I'm not going to go into that mode. Actually, you will get more productivity out of your employees if you have a meeting in together mode, because people's brains are wired to pick up on faces and emotions and reactions, and it will actually improve their experience. So be the hero within your organization. Share with your company that you need to use together mode because your brains will hurt less. That is, you're going to laugh, but that is the study. It is data driven that that Microsoft is using. They also did a Harris poll that was commissioned by Microsoft among 2,200 adults age 18 or more working across the country. But when you are working from home, one of the good things that data is showing us is when you see people with their home environments behind them, at their kitchen table, with their kids coming in. I don't know about you, but if you've been on some meetings with me, you might see one of my kids. They know that I'm on the phone and I'm talking loudly in my home office. They know not to say stuff when they walk into the room, I think, most of the time. But they will just walk into my office throughout the day. They'll come and they'll give me like this little side hug because I won't even like detach from the screen because I'm a horrible person. But by seeing my child, and Microsoft has seen the data, that it actually increased empathy for colleagues on a worldwide basis. In the United States, empathy is up 61% as we've done work from home. And you can see and humanize the individual in their home environment, that we are not just human resources that come to work and perform a function, but we are humans, and we have families, and we have our own challenges outside of work, and we have to balance all of those things while producing for the organization. And that's a positive to what we've experienced in our work from home environment. I also said there were challenges, and there are some. And Microsoft also has the Graph AI that's able to see when you're logged into email. When you're switching from one email to the next, Microsoft knows you are active in your inbox. When Microsoft sees you open up your phone, wake it up at night, check a Teams message, and go from being away to being green and being active, Microsoft is logging all of that information and seeing all that data. And this is the graph of Teams chat interaction from March to June of 2020. at the start or front end of the pandemic that we're experiencing. You can see that the Teams usage pre the traditional workday, right before, and today, my day today was no different. I saw my first Teams message before I got into the shower this morning. That is the reality of my day. And I was still on Teams in my kitchen at 5:30 last night. So, and the data shows that I am not that unusual, that the connectedness of this platform means that your 9 to 5 employees are now working 7 to 7. They're working 7 to 8. They're even responding at 11 o'clock at night. So there's two ways to view that. If you're a business owner on this call, you're like, this is a fantastic technology. Look at the additional work. Look at the additional productivity that I am getting out of my staff. And that is true. You are getting, at times, brain fatigued, but more work out of your employees. But you are also building perhaps a problem in your organization that you have identified, or a problem that you haven't identified, which is that you're going to have employees say, I don't feel like I'm ever off the clock. This technology is too attached to me, and I'm working more than what I thought. So it's an over 15% increase in the off work hours impact of Teams. So this is the settings, and this little graphic goes really, really quick. But this is a setting that you should consider turning on your own phone and training your staff about, which is Teams quiet hours. So within the Teams application on your phone, you can go into settings, quiet hours, enable them, and set your quiet hours for outside of your workday. And maybe this is something organizationally you want to put forward as something that needs to be done. I'm not here to tell you how to run your business, but I am here to give you data that says that these powerful new technologies are having a profound impact on our workforce, a profound impact on our own personal lives. And Microsoft sees all of that and is building technology and tools like quiet hours, which didn't exist before, but is a roadmap feature that is now live, that allows you to control some of these impacts. The other thing Microsoft put in their roadmap, it is not out yet, is something called pulse surveys. It's going to be called Reflect. That's going to be the app. So there are apps that you can install into Teams. Don't know if you know that. Hopefully you've joined some of our other webinars and have learned about Teams apps. But here in the picture in my presentation, hopefully it's big enough that you can see it, that on the left side, you have your traditional options within Teams, your activities, your chats, your Teams channels, your calendar, your phone calls, and your calling capability, your files, access, and all the way down there at the bottom is apps. And if you click on that and you're an administrator, you can add applications like chatbots, like Who, which is one of my favorites. Who is a Microsoft written app that if you've set up your Active Directory correctly, you can say who is so-and-so's manager, who reports to Bob Smith, and it will give you org chart, contact information, stuff that is stored inside of your organization's Microsoft Active Directory, which is a great app. But they're coming out with one called Reflect. So Reflect is what this will be called. It's on the roadmap, not out yet today. But Reflect is an app you're going to be able to turn on in Teams, and it's going to allow you to do questions like this. How do you feel about this week? How are you feeling in your job? How are you feeling about work-life balance? It's going to ask you these quick pulse survey questions, and you're going to be able to see how the team is reacting in real time inside of this pulse. And while feedback is hard, feedback is vital and important. And while Reflect isn't live now, Alevity is doing Reflect pulse surveys every single week. Because we're trying to understand the impact of all of the craziness that's gone on. And we in the technology space, we have some customers that are busier than ever right now and are extra demanding of and needing of our time. And so our team is pulled in an extra way right now. We also merged organizations. So we've got all these things going on right now, and we need to keep a pulse on where this is going. Since this is about visioning and thinking to the future about where this application is going, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the future of Teams as a voice and calling tool, because that's what Teams is. Teams is everything. It's a file storage system. It's a way to manage your calendar. It's a way to chat one-to-one or one-to-many. It's a way to have meetings. It's a way to share meetings and messages with outside customers. And we're going to do a session coming up later this month on Teams live events. And we're going to talk about how you can run a live event for 10,000 people if you want to. But one of the pieces that now that your employees are running this application all the time, I get calls about this every single week, which is, well, we're not really using those phones that are sitting back on our desks at the office anymore. We're using our cell phones, or it's been a challenge, or our phone system can kind of do it over VPN, or every sort of challenge. And our first question is, if you're using Teams every day, maybe that should just become your calling platform. So this is the roadmap for some of the features that the Teams Voice team, which is on a different path, and has definitely slowed a little bit because there's so much going on in the Teams collaboration team right now. But they've delivered transferring, they've delivered one-to-one convenience recording. They've got some of the consumer interop between Teams and Skype calling worked out. Group calling in Safari. They have Cisco SBCs, or session border controllers, certified for direct routing. So an SBC, or session border controller, is the fancy technology term for, we can still have your Teams calls terminate into a regular phone line back at your office. So if you've got a really good deal on phone numbers and phone lines, and you've got or you have a PRI, which is a block of phone lines, a digital T1 block of your phone numbers, and that's at one of your locations, we can put in an SBC device that connects to that, and Teams will still be how you make the call, how you interact with your voice system, but your call will be sent from Teams back to your premise environment using the internet, and then will connect to a regular road telephone line. And in fact, that's a way to make Teams Voice more cost effective. If you have more than 20 users in your organization, using an SBC will probably be more cost effective. It has some complexity to the setup, which you can lean on us, and we're familiar with setting it up. If you're a large organization, we've helped 100 user plus organizations move their calling to Microsoft Teams. And the way you make the economics of that shift work is that you use a session border controller. Otherwise, you have to use, at minimum, probably a Teams unlimited calling plan for the United States. And those are around $20 a user a month, just for the calling portion of it. It's just to pay for the piper for your phone number, your DID, and all of your calling that you may be doing. They have some call queue performance improvements. They've done some contact center integrations with partner solutions, some compliance recording with partner solutions, and I'll share some of those. The phone system administrative experience was enhanced and can now manage phones themselves. So your team from the Microsoft Office 365 portal can actually manage certain manufacturers. Yealink, 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 makes a Teams integrated phone, a physical phone that can go on your desk. But you can manage whose name shows up, what time shows up on that phone from anywhere in the world, the firmware of that phone, the software on that phone, all from the Office 365 interface, now with their portal admin improvements. They're continuing to evolve the calling experience, call recording when it hits a traditional landline, branch office survivability, so if we need to have failover, merging calls. SBCs continue to be certified for different phone systems and types, spam call blocking, additional calling plans in other countries. They don't have agreements. Microsoft is having to become a phone company, which is a whole different regulatory animal. A lot of very specific taxes, FCC taxes around phones. It's why we, even as somebody who buys direct, we don't actually make any money. It's not a secret. We cannot mark up certain products because there are taxes embedded those that need to go to certain government entities when it's a phone call. Phone calling is a whole different animal to it. Music on hold, better caller ID or text caller ID and reverse phone number lookups, and continuing to evolve their call queue platform. If you're an organization that needs contact center, call queues and agents on queue, working from home and things like that, these are some of the contact center products that they've integrated. The URL shortening tool from Microsoft is called aka.ms. This just makes the URL shorter. So aka.ms/Teams contact centers will get you a link to some of the contact center products that they've integrated with. Recording, if you need to record everything that's coming in and out of your phone system from a compliance perspective, aka.ms/Teams compliance rec is where you can go to find those. So Teams is changing the devices that look on their desk. I don't know about you, but I haven't had a phone on my desk for well over a year now. an actual physical phone. Yealink and Lenovo are some of the pioneers from the hardware side that are working on Teams-enabled desks. And I don't know if you would even call this a phone. It has a speaker, it has a speakerphone enabled, but it's got Bluetooth so that you can connect a Bluetooth headset, because that's most likely what a lot of people are using today. But it's really just an interface. It's a little mini computer, probably running the Android OS or something like that. But it's running a native Teams application. So you can see your schedule, you can see your missed calls, your voicemails, and it also offloads some of the workload. I'm sure we have all seen while Teams is running and you're in a meeting, maybe it slows down your efficiency in other applications. Microsoft's answer to that, they're going to continue to evolve it, but more features are going into it, is run the Teams application for your actual call on a separate device, on one of these little mini devices that are sitting on your desk. So it's changing the face of what we are putting on and installing on people's desks. As a part of COVID, as we start to make that shift back into rooms, these are called Teams-enabled rooms. And we at Alevity support and install several Teams rooms devices. We only do Teams-enabled room systems. And we're going to talk about some of the roadmap for these as well. So this is called proximity join. Basically, your laptop logged in with Teams, as it comes into proximity to the Teams room device, is going to know that it is you and that you have a meeting coming up, and you'll just be able to click join now to join that meeting. And that's scheduled to be released in December of 2020. In order to help adapt to COVID times, we don't want people coming into shared spaces and then touching a shared screen. And so Teams is rolling out the ability to have a Teams room remote control. So if a Teams room device, instead of all of us touching the same screen in that Teams room to mute or add video or add audio or change what's being shared or the layout, everyone's individual phones that you're already used to touching because it's your phone will become a remote for that Teams room. This is a COVID measure feature for Teams room specifically that they're working on. Also, you'll be able to cast what is on your mobile device to what is on the screen, all so that you can stay on your phone and cast it to the device without plugging in cables, again, reducing the amount of things that you touch in the room as a COVID safety measure. So this is great. If you're an IT guy on this call, talk about all the features that are coming down the road that are Teams safety measures in a post-COVID world that you're going to need to have Teams rooms devices across the board. Get rid of all the old video conferencing technology you've had. Tell them it's a safety thing, put it in the HR and safety budget. It's not an IT request, it's a safety request. Teams rooms will be enabled with Cortana. You'll be able to talk to your Teams room again, so you don't need to touch anything in the room and just say, I'm here, join my meeting. And that again is a December feature. Also, they're rolling out Teams capacity limits. So if there is a Teams enabled device with a Teams enabled camera in it, that camera will detect how many users are in the room. You will set in your Office 365 the capacity of that room. And if more people are in that room, it can notify HR that you are exceeding capacity limits, and Teams will tell you, stay safe, practice social distancing, someone please leave the room, which is perhaps everyone's dream. You show up to a meeting and the room has told you you should leave the meeting. But really, it's about, all right, go to your office individually now and take that meeting there. So all those features, whether it be phones, whether it be Teams Room, whether it be the Teams application, again, all of that, you can see that public roadmap. But these are some of the features that we see coming down the road that are safety oriented, they're work from home oriented, and they're going to help make your business more efficient as well as more safe. So if you have any questions about Teams, certainly here's my contact information, phigger@alevityit.com. But more importantly, our call to action, our ask of you today is if you learned something that you need to bring back to your business, if you need to help sell more investment in Teams training and utilizing Teams in your environment and getting it rolled out, maybe there is no IT person and you need our help to do that. Let's talk about that. Visit gflesh.com/manage-it-needs-assessment. And we can do a needs assessment for your environment. If you're not using us for managed IT services or fully managed IT today, we can offer that for you, and we can include collaboration and assessment as part of that. If you're on this call and you are responsible for IT and you need help, then still reach out to us. We have team members that support folks that are in IT roles, and we can provide you a project-based assessment or improvement process around your Microsoft Teams adoption. Maybe you just saw phones for the first time or Teams rooms for the first time today, and those are things that interest you, or you need to get into your budget and planning and visioning for 2021, assuming hopefully people are coming back to the office more. How do we keep those brain waves calm? How do we use these new features that are coming and some of these new technologies? And this may mean we need to have some investment. But the great news is, and I think the number one selling point about everything we've talked about today, is if you are an Office 365 customer, which I think many of you probably are, because it's the cornerstone of how you email and how you probably at least chat today, this is an easy sell because you can go back to the business and say, we already pay Microsoft for Office 365. We already pay for Teams. We just need to leverage the investment our organization has already made. And that is the talk track, is you have it. How do we leverage it more? How do we get more out of this technology? And how do we support our employees in this work from home environment, this hybrid environment, and the return to work using these technologies? It won't be the same. If you don't have conference rooms well set up for half the people being remote and half the people being on site, you're not prepared in 2021 for the direction of where the world is going and where your technology is going to need to meet it. We're here to help you. We're going to make that easy. We're going to simplify it for it. We're going to help you explain it to the organization and help you budget, plan, and finance for it if you need it as well. That's what we're here to do. We're your trusted partner. We're your strategic partner, and we're going to help you think to the future of where technology is going, where your business is going, where the world is going, and help you meet that digital transformation. So with that, that's the content that I have today. I kind of wanted to get 45 minutes of content. Hopefully you stayed with us. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm going to head over now and check out that Q&A section and see if there's any questions that I can answer as you're sitting there. So first question is, we have a mixed user base, some at the desk and a computer and many remote. When we have company-wide meetings, we'd like to account for both Teams app users and computer users that can call into a meeting. The current limit is 350 attendees, but they have more employees than that. They have many more than that. It's going to be up to 1,000 users by the end of 2020. Is that still true? And that is true. So if we go back in my deck here, which is a great question, but if we head back, one of the roadmap features is interactive meetings for 1,000 participants. So when they go to the 1,000 participant limit, my understanding, and this is a roadmap feature, and we can go try to check our roadmap and find that attendees feature. Let's search for 1,000 and see if we can track that down. There it is. Microsoft Teams increasing from 300 to 1,000 is in development. It is scheduled for November, but we're in November and it's not a rolling out state. So that means we're a little bit behind. But interactive is what they have been calling this feature, which I don't see that one coming up. But this is a roadmap feature. There it is, large meeting support. In development, scheduled release of for December of 2020. So interactive meetings for more attendees up to 1,000. So this kind of, we have this weird spot right now of if you need more than 300, you got to go to a Teams live event, which is a very different animal. And we're going to do a cool little short topic on live events and run one for you. You almost need another piece of software. You need vMix or OBS or something to kind of manage the live event. It's really more of a streaming platform. Live events are more like publishing something to Vimeo Live or Facebook Live. But you can put controls around them. You can make sure they're only people in your organization. They're good for town halls or talking at people. I think this is the sweet spot. This moving it up to large meeting support for interactive meetings for 1,000 folks. It was added to the roadmap in July. It was updated in August. It's still marked as in development, which is not atypical for something that's being expected to be rolled in December. That increased chat support number worries me, that it was slated for November and it's not on a rolling out state. But at this point, they've committed to the public roadmap of moving it up to 1,000. So my understanding is not 1,000 people will be able to talk in that call, there's a certain percentage of this 1,000 that are going to be limited to chat only. But you're going to be able to just use the regular Teams app. You're not going to go do a live event and switch to producer mode and change kind of how you interact with Teams. You'll be able to set up a regular plain old Teams meeting. So for that individual who shared that 300 user number, or the 800 users that they are going to need to support, you should be able to be in support. You just got to hold on for this feature to be released, and it is targeted for December. So as long as this is the one I would keep tabs on. It looks like they're calling this large meeting support. I would keep tabs on this item on their public roadmap, and I would check in periodically. You can also set an RSS feed to watch this. You can actually import RSS feeds into Teams. So if any updates happen when this goes from in development to rolling out, you can be the hero around the office and share that with everybody. Another good question that came in is, can we get a workday reporting for our staff, and where can they find that? So yes, if you want to find out, it's called Insights. You need to be on a certain level of Office 365, and it's a part of, if you want to report on your whole staff, the Insights area is a part of the Office 365 Admin Council. So you have to be an administrator level on your Office 365 tenant. So it might be a permissions thing that you need to work out. Then you need to go into that Office 365 Admin Center, and you can set up some of your Insights settings and send digest emails about your team and things like that. But that's where you can get access to and can kind of look at some of that graph API data about, is my team working, and are they working in the hours they say they are, a little bit, and are they working outside of those hours? So Microsoft has released a little bit of those insights. They're not so granular at this point as saying, my employee is supposed to work from 8 to 5. Can you tell whether they're sending email and really active in email from 8 to 5? It's not set up to be an employee watchdog. Insights is meant to provide insight into who you're collaborating with, who your employees are interacting with, and to hopefully catch some general trends about, Microsoft is looking at my calendar today and seeing that I'm double and triple booked. And so it's going to add to insights that I don't have as much focus time as I should. And it can even ask and offer to schedule focus time for you. Cortana can do that. You do need to be at the right licensing level. A lot of the insights features and team planning features are part of their enterprise SKUs only. So you need to be in their Office 365 or M365E SKUs. Their small business SKUs often don't have some of those insight features as a part of the license. But great question, and feel free to reach out to me or through our website to ask for additional help around where some of those features are. I'll leave in space for any other questions that came in. Those are both great ones. Otherwise, we're 8 minutes to the top of the hour as it is. Again, we will send out the recording, share the resources that we can around this as well. Hopefully you found it useful and helpful to you as you kind of see where Teams is going in the direction of work from home. We appreciate you and hope that you and your families are able to stay safe around the holidays. With that, we're gonna close out today's webinar. But thank you for joining us today. Keep a lookout on our website for all the events that we have going on. Lots of great thought leadership stuff. We have a trivia night coming up in December. We're always trying to do unique things to help keep your brains calm, but also excited about the future of technology. So check us out at our website and feel free to reach out if there's anything that we can do. Have a safe, happy, and healthy holidays.